Good morning, everyone. We are coming live via Facebook streaming, live via YouTube streaming, and live on Skype. Gurdjief, the enigma of consciousness. Gurdjief, the enigma of consciousness. George Ivanovich Gurdjief was an extraordinary man, a master in the truest sense. His teachings speak to our most essential question: who am I? Why am I here? And what is the purpose of human life in particular? Three questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And what is the purpose of human life in particular? As a young man, Gurdjieff relentlessly pursued these questions and became convinced that practical answers lay within ancient traditions. Through many years of searching and practice, he discovered answers and then set about putting what he has learned into a form of understandable, in a form understandable to the Western world. Gurdjieff maintained that owing to the abnormal condition of modern life, we no longer function in a harmonious way. He taught that in order to become harmonious, we must develop new faculties, talent, potentials through work on oneself. He presented his teachings and ideas in three forms: writing, music, and movements which correspond to ourselves. He certainly is a pioneer. With Gurdjieff begins a totally new concept of a spiritual life. He actually called his way the fourth way. Hindu scriptures speak of Turiya, the fourth dimension. He used the word the fourth way. Just as I call my way fourth way, he was immensely misunderstood because he was not interested in imparting knowledge to you. He was not interested in consoling you. He was not interested in giving you beautiful theories, visions, hallucinations, etc. He was not interested in your tears, in your emotions and sentiments. He was not interested in being worshipped by you. He was interested in transforming you, totally transforming you. That was the unique way that Gurdjieff worked. He belonged to a nomadic society. He was of an Armenian descent. Nomadic is those people who do not have any permanent place of residence. In search of their livelihood, they move from place to place and continue to ply their trade for living. They will come with their tents, set up everything, stay there for a couple months, then move to another location. When his father was dying, Gurdjieff was 8 or 9 years of age. His father said, "I do not have anything to give it to you, but the experience of my life is condensed in one sentence. And that sentence, he said, if you can understand it now, you can practice it. But one day you will understand it. Gurdjief wasted no time and he started practicing it immediately. The father said, when anger is coming to you, postpone it for 24 hours. Someone says something to you, you feel hurt, you are upset. Do not respond to the person in that state. Instead, tell the person, I will come back to you after 24 hours because I do not understand it now. Maybe with time I will understand. It will happen after 24 hours. Gurdjief finds that there was no need to go back to that person. Two reasons were there. When he realized that whatsoever the person is saying is true about me, and if something is true about me, why do I have to go and say something to him? And if whatsoever the other is saying about me is not true, then why do I have to give any explanations? In both situations, the response is irrelevant. And that brought about transformation in his life, and that he shared with the people through his teachings. Before I begin to say anything on Gurdjief, one thing I have to make it clear categorically, that I am not either Gurdjief's follower or his disciple. I am speaking Gurdjief, not on. I am speaking Gurdjief because of my love for what he is, not what he taught, what he is. It is important. My love for you is what you are, not what you do or what you give to me. That is irrelevant. I am speaking Gurdjief because of my love for what he is. It does not matter to me if anyone agrees with me or not. I have spoken for those who love Gurdjief and want to know more of him. The choice is always yours. Gurdjief is like the ocean wherein waters of all rivers have merged. Ocean is total. It has absorbed the water of all the rivers. His work represents the essence of all paths. Leon Lefort wrote a book, Masters of Gurdjief. In search of the masters of Gurdjief, he went to the Middle East and wherever he could find some biographical notes that Gurdjief had gone there. Middle East, the masters that he met, one of them was a drummer, next one was a carpet weaver, so on and so forth. So one master, he asked, what did you teach Gurdjief? The master responded, he said, I taught him how to breathe. When someone says that I taught you how to breathe, you will immediately say, what do you mean? Breathing, we all breathe. No, you do not know how to breathe. Breathing is an art. There are various types of breathing, corrective breathing, and when you are totally relaxed, then your breathing is rhythmic. All these things happen at that time. What is more important is that the man says, and his methodology. I am only concerned about this. There are many issues about which questions have been raised by the critics. Gurdjief Had Gurdjief been alive, these criticisms would have certainly fallen on deaf ears of Gurdjief. He will not pay any attention to those. Had Gurdjief was alive, these criticisms would have certainly fallen on the deaf ears of Gurdjief, just like the water sliding from a lotus leaf without even moistening it. All those who are critical of Gurdjief, I want to ask one simple question. Have you tried any of his techniques? He is the embodiment of divinity in human garb. Certainly, he may have human weaknesses, but there can be no doubt about the totality of his awareness and the effectiveness of his methods. A master's time is very precious. He does not allow the superficial people around him. Life is short, but he has much to endure. Before dust into dust stands wines and songs and zinger. This is true about Zen, Sufi, Taoist, Yoga and all other systems. Zen path is full of such anecdotes when the masters have chased such men out of their monasteries. It matters not if this be the story of the philosopher visiting Bankei and other masters as well. One Sufi master, Raghuvardayal, just let me here. Speaking on Gurdjieff, the enigma of consciousness. Facebook streaming got a little bit truncated. Zen path, master's time is very precious. He have a very life is short, and he have much to endure before dust into dust and songs and wines and singer. So he does not allow the superficial people around him just coming and asking the question out of curiosity. There is a beautiful anecdote about Raman. A man came and he kept on asking about the spiritual path. Raman said, just go within. Keep on asking him again and again. Same question. Raman took his a stick and chased the man out of the compound and came back laughing. Because much has to be endured. He has been bestowed many responsibilities from the existence. So this is true about Zen, Sufi, Taoist, Yoga and other systems as well. Zen path is full of such anecdotes when the masters have chased such men out of their monasteries. It matters not if this be the story of a philosopher visiting Bankei or any other master. One Sufi master, Raghuvardayal, he used to say that I have to guard my place so that the dog of the world, one who is engrossed in the world and its affairs, does not enter to destroy the sanctity of my place, the sanctity of my khanqa. I avoid such persons so that time is not wasted. In the beginning, I have mentioned that Gurdjieff is an enigma. Indeed, he is. If you really want to understand Gurdjief and his methodology, you need to know what Gurdjief is. What Gurdjief is, what is his level of consciousness, and what is the plane of his operation for the process of transformation to happen to those who came in his contact. During these travels far and wide, Gurdjief spent time in the company of different masters, and the moment you are ready, Master fills you with what he is within. There is an important Sufi saying, Master appears the moment disciple is ready. Master appears the moment disciple is ready. The moment you are ready, Master fills you with what he is within. Remember the important Sufi saying, Master appears the moment disciple is ready. Once Mencius asked certain question about death and life beyond from Confucius, and in response Confucius said, Mencius was Confucius' disciple. When he asked questions relating to death and life beyond, Confucius said, forget all such questions now. When you are lying down in your grave, you have enough time to think about these. Right now there are other things which are more important to focus on. Also, you will recall the conversation between Lao Tse and Confucius. Look like you had no time in your life for such things. Let me remind you of this meeting, which was like a monologue of Confucius. Confucius was always eager to have a dialogue with Lao Tse because they were contemporaries. Confucius was connected with the kings and royalty. He was always eager to have a dialogue with Lao Tse, but never got the opportunity as Lao Tse was always traveling and Confucius was busy with the elite. Once he heard that Lao Tse was meditating in a nearby cave on a cold, snowy winter night. The very thought was enough to send quivers in the bones of Confucius. Somehow he gathered courage as he was constantly reminded by his disciples. Along with few chosen disciples, he set on journey to go and meet Lao Tse. Confucius stopped the disciples at the entrance of the cave and told them to wait, and he would like to encounter Lao Tse alone. On reaching inside, he saw Lao Tse was sitting alone. Just sitting alone by yourself and doing nothing sends quivers in you. To Confucius, meditation means doing, and contrary to his belief, Lao Tse was sitting alone. Let me put this meeting in a dialogue form. Confucius, are you meditating? Very often the question, I am sitting down, people ask, are you meditating? So Confucius asked, are you meditating? Lao Tse, no. Confucius, I have come to have a dialogue with you. Lao Tse, then say all you have to say and leave. Whatever you have to say, say and get out. Confucius, what about you? Lao Tse, I am not So there is no question of saying anything. Only this much is reported. I am not. The question, our response comes out of the mind. When mind is not there, who is there to respond? I am not. There is no question of saying anything. It is said Confucius, who was perspiring profusely, ran out of the cave. His words choked. This is how his disciples found Confucius as he came out of the cave. All Confucius said about Lao Tse, that man is really dangerous. That man is really dangerous. After this incident, Confucius never attempted to meet Lao Tse again. Lao Tse never spoke of this event afterwards. Whatever account is available is the account of the disciples of Confucius. George Gurdjief, his name George Ivanovich Gurdjief, is most unique masters in the world, master the world has ever seen. But his uniqueness created a distance between him and the normal humanity. All his methods were valid methods, but the journey was long, and he made even longer by the way he propounded it. In fact, that was one of his devices to find the real seeker. He did not want just curious ones around him. Are you ready to go to the very end of the world? Or are you just a curiosity monger? You will go a little way to know what the man is all about, waste his time, and then you will be back in the world. He would choose only those who are ready even to die, if that is the only way to find truth. Ready to die. If that is the only way to find truth. Naturally, he was surrounded by only a few small group of people, and he was also not interested in any social revolution. His whole interest was to crystallize a few individuals who were courageous enough to give them their original face and to help them know the ultimate ecstasy that existence makes available. But it was only for chosen few. Not that somebody chooses, then instead only very few people are courageous enough to risk everything to find them. They became chosen few by their own courage and their own daring nature. And Gurdjieff was not interested at all in fast asleep humanity. Raman Maharshi too was not interested in the sleeping humanity. Gurdjieff was not only interested, but he had all the condemnation possible for those who have been sleeping for lives together. He is the only man in the whole of humanity. These sleeping people do not have souls, he said. These sleeping people do not have a soul. Soul is born in you when you are awake, not before that. And unless a man becomes enlightened, he cannot have a soul. Soul is a reward. You do not come with a soul at birth, you achieve it by your efforts. Gurdjieff is the only one who said so. Naturally, no government was offended, no church was offended. If a man has collected 24 people, the Pope is not worried, the Shankaracharyas are not worried. He is not a competitor. and he worked personally with each individual. Naturally, he could not work with the millions of people. So these people were just in the margin. Their names can appear in the footnote. They do not belong to the vast humanity, just on the fringe, having a small group. They were not a danger in any way to anyone. This is the introductory note. With this, I can take you through the life and the works of Gurdjief. Go through these systematically. Certainly this will present a clear understanding of Gurdjief. In order to bring deeper understanding, I am speaking on related matters and the influences as well. This is just an introduction to Gurdjieff, the enigma of consciousness. And as time goes on, I'll continue to speak on the various aspects of Gurdjieff. Indeed, Gurdjieff is the enigma of consciousness. He was born on 14th of January 1866 and he died on October 29, 1949. He was considered a mystic and a spiritual teacher. Like many of other masters, there is a question mark on the exact date of his birth. Unlike other masters of the East, he called his discipline the work. This was an indication that everyone has to work on oneself according to Gurdjieff's principle and instructions. His way was called the fourth way. At one point, he described his teachings as esoteric Christianity. We'll continue on this in subsequent sessions. Until then, take care and do have a pleasant day.